Well, hello everyone. How are we doing today? Hype training, I see. And some of y'all are really getting ahead of yourselves here. Well, getting ahead of me, rather. So let me see if I can catch up. Ashton, for one, thank you very much for the 9 months. Getting in here before everybody. Thank you for... Well, now, hang on.
Well,
Gracious. We'll get to you. Thank you, JMac, as well, for the 9 months. And Baha Bali for the 9 months. New stream, sweet, let's wrong play. Yes, let's wrong play. I'll get back to you. Thank you very much for the 9 months as well, Arta Matthew. Now, Baha Bali. That was 5 gifted subs just right out the gate, which was very generous and kind of you. Just borderline uncalled for, which is just the opening 3 minutes. Thank you very much, though. Thank you for the 8 months, Walu. Walu. I feel like every way I say it is incorrect, but thank you. Thanks for the 9 months, Choa Kid. I'm definitely saying yours, a Chaos Kid. That's probably what it is. Yeah. The more I look at it, the more I think that's probably what it is. Time for Dan to play the game that I haven't gone to sleep before 2 a.m. because of. It's a very that game, isn't it? Thank you. But we're going to be doing this for a little bit. Welcome, everyone, though, to the stream. Thank you, Iskar Jarak, for 9 months. Another stream, another hype train, indeed. 9 months for Alchemist 80 as well. And Super Jaws. And Chaos Carry. Well, 8 months for Chaos Carry, but still. Thank you, folks. Zeflos resubscribing for 9 months also. I'll just keep up with it as the alerts keep up with it. What say? Thank you, Regin, for the 9 months also. If there's one Zelda game you can't play wrong, I feel like it's this one. Also, wow, 9 months already. Yeah, okay. I agree. With both things, actually. Wow, 9 months already. Because it doesn't feel like 9 months. And it's true, you can't really play this game wrong, but we're going to just to learn things about it. We can play it analytically, if not optimally. Thank you, Naruhoodie, for the 9 months also. Yeah, Blueberry Froyo. New flavors. 9 months. Woo! Thank you for the 9 months, Malcroth. Dan's been at this Twitch thing for 9 months. Isn't it weird? Yes, Baha Bali, I suppose you can do this too. Oh, so you normally go by Choa Kid. I misspelled Chow when I was younger, like the Sonic Chow. Oh, I see. Choa Kid. Okay, so I was... I was kind of right. Choa Kid. That's as good a name, like a screen name origin story as any, though. Rolling with an incorrect spelling and owning it. It's a stylish move. Thank you for the 9 months also, Midnight's Gaius. And a new flavor, I know, it's blue. Blue flavor. Thank you also for the gifted sub there, Chroma Capybara. Hello, I'm a patron to you. I'm still figuring out how Twitch works. Just subbed. Hey, same. Just because I've been here for 9 months doesn't mean I'm 9 months wise. No. Will Link have a better idle animation? Find out tonight. We will find out tonight. We will find out tonight. So, the reason we're doing a wrong play of this tonight, well, there's a few reasons. 1, for fun. 2, for, hey, thanks for the 9 months there, Slacker Alex. Well, no, wait, 6 months. My bad. But thank you for the congratulations. The reason we're doing this is, in addition to just having fun, is I've been trying to figure out some kind of smaller New Frame Plus type video that I can do in between these larger ones that take me months to complete. Because though I am very proud of these larger ones and can plan to continue making them, I've got like the next 3 of those, 4 maybe, already like figured out exactly which ones I want to do in what order. it sucks only coming out with videos every rarely now and again. And I think part of that is because the scope of these videos has just kind of increased with time. So I want to kind of find some smaller things I can do, some bite-sized type things. I actually tried recording a wrong play type video of Tears of the Kingdom a couple of weeks ago, pretty much just when it came out, intending to try that out as a new Frame Plus thing. And it just wasn't working out. I spent like all day trying to make that, like, to get something that felt interesting and engaging, and just like it wasn't working. It just felt like, even as I was recording it, I felt like this is boring, what I'm recording here. So I think what I want to try to do instead is do a wrong play stream like this, and look for some interesting little things to make a tiny video about, like interesting little animation bits in the game, or highlighting particularly cool animation features, or just talking about some little small thing. Basically like a little bite-sized wrong play nugget that can be just a tiny, like a few-minute video, probably. Because like, if I design that right, I could make a video like that even in a day. Potentially. I want to try doing that kind of thing a little bit more as an experiment. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna wrong play this, and we're gonna look for interesting little things that could make for a interesting little explainer video, or a hey, check this out kind of video. That sort of thing, you know? So we're gonna look for that stuff together though. Thank you, Ramdom, by the way, for the 9 months. I almost missed you there. Now, if you'll excuse me for 10 seconds, my cat is in the room and does not want to be in the room, wants to be out of the room. And there's only one person who can do anything about that, and that's me. So, sit tight. All right, Ruby, go ahead. Be free. Be free. Kitty is free. She has escaped the room. She's won the escape room. It was not a hard puzzle, and there was only one step, but it just requires persistence. Thank you, Rogue Link, for the 9 months. Also, by the way, finally catching a stream live. Can't wait to see what you pull out of Tears of the Kingdom. Well, thank you, and welcome. I'm also excited to see what we pull out of this together. I'm probably going to start into it pretty soon here, just because I know this is a pretty late night stream for some folks, and I don't know how many hours we'll actually be able to go on this, so probably shouldn't stall too long, right? And thank you, Arc Flash Hazard, for the 8 months. Oh heck, it's been 8 months of chill vibes, free t-shirts, wrong plays, Derman, and Bart's. Appreciate your channels, Dan. Yeah, boy, we've been trying to finish Final Fantasy V and failing for 9 months now, right? Should get back to that at some point. I gotta finish this Sonic video first. It's so close to done. The Sonic Frontiers video is coming together. It needs some more work. Another day or two, like another solid work day or two of it. And then this thing's done. Yeah, there's subtitles on the screen. I figured out, or well, I didn't figure out. Someone pointed out a interesting plugin thing that I could use in OBS and Twitch to make subtitles work. And you can turn them off if you don't want them on screen. I didn't want to just do subtitles that were just like baked in case someone didn't want them just visibly on screen, like kind of blocking the view of play or whatever. But those are subtitles that you can have on or off if you want them individually. So it's very cool. But yeah, this should be good. I've only had a chance to play probably like 6 to 8 hours of Tears of the Kingdom on my own time. Enjoyed it immensely. Every minute of it. I actually kind of paused and went back to go back and kind of like wrap up a playthrough of Breath of the Wild I was halfway through. Just because it kind of felt like it's going to be hard to go back if I get too acclimated to Tears of the Kingdom first. And so much of Tears of the Kingdom seems to be about kind of celebrating the, hey, it's that place you know. How are all the people and places you know of doing? Let's check in and see them again. Thank you, for one, Reka, for the 9 months. For two, Bahabali. Thank you for the 5 more gifted subs. It's very kind of you. Hang on, I'm trying to catch up with chat here. I've only just now started catching up with all the alerts for people subscribing and such.
Yeah!
For not... Entirely too kind. For not being a Sonic fan, you are, sure, continuing to appear to be a Sonic fan. It is true. This... yes. I will continue to say over and over, I am not a Sonic fan. I think the Sonic game I have enjoyed most is the one that, like, we finished the playthrough today on the channel, is the Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Not because of, like... not because it's the one where Sonic almost dies, but because it's the one, like, that is really charming, that I enjoyed throughout, which is... That's generally not true of most Sonic games for me. It's more a thing where... if you study a thing for a good long time, you develop a lot to say about it. And so you have a lot to say about it, but then you also sort of feel a sunk cost fallacy type thing where you're like, I've spent a lot of time learning this. I'm going to say all those thoughts I have, and I'm keep talking about it. But then another aspect of it is when you start making, if you become known for making a video about a thing that becomes a video that people then expect and request of you constantly. So I've sort of fallen into a trap here where I now make Sonic videos. I'm not the first, probably won't be the last. Very similar to Barry in Kingdom Hearts. Thank you, Quasimoto, for the 9 months, and also Dragon Lady for the 9 months, and also Brave Othello for the 9 months. But okay, we should play a video game. We got to do some wrong playing here. All right. So, let's go ahead and start up a new game here. How do you play this game wrong? That's a good question, and I should go ahead and explain the premise of the wrong play for those of you who are not familiar. So, a wrong play is a term that I wish I could take credit for, but it was somebody in either the chat or comments of a previous video type thing I did before, where basically I play a game not necessarily to progress in it. I play the game to try to understand it better, to analyze the animation and the design in it, which usually requires playing it kind of weird and suboptimally. And it's just like, it's the sort of thing that you kind of can't not do once you work in games, because then you become really curious about the craft of it. And in every game you play, you start getting curious about how things work under the hood. And sometimes the best way to find out how something works under the hood is to kind of play it weird and see if you can figure out how the systems are working by intentionally driving the car in a strange way. So it's not necessarily just about playing the game incorrectly for its own sake. It's for a purpose of self-education. Yeah, the flowy text back there really is quite cool. It's a neat little effect. I like how uneven the, like, timing of that squiggling is. It's not all super smooth and wavy and kind of like that sort of default quality of motion that I expect from little effects like this. There's a sort of almost janky, but like not really, like intentionally so. There's like a design to some of this sort of like fast, slow motion of it that feels more alive and organic in a really cool way. It is kind of similar to QA, this wrong playing thing. Except rather than trying to like break the game to find bugs necessarily, we're just playing in some goofy, silly ways. We are breaking the intended experience a little bit for educational purposes. let's begin, because there's some cutscene stuff at the start of this anyway. New game. And this is on an alternate save, like, profile. Don't worry, I'm not erasing all of my progress in the game. First thing, go back up the stairs. Wish I'd tried it. I am curious what'll happen. That is a lot of what wrong playing is, too. It's basically just asking the question, what happens if I... ... do something that clearly is not the intended action here? Did they account for it, and how? Oh, just to check out before I decide to hang out, is this a spoiler-free stream or are spoilers allowed? I'm going to say this is spoiler-free. Like, we are... anything that we're not experiencing in here at the beginning of the game, let's keep spoilers free in chat. Let's not talk about stuff that is, like, story or plot or for stuff that is more than, like, 6 hours into the game, let's say.
These tunnels are deeper than I thought. What could be down here?
Just since the game's still relatively new. So, first good wrong play idea. Back upstairs. Zelda, you have fun. I'm going to go back out into this bright, beautiful world. Link, has something caught your attention? Whatever it is, we can plan to look at it on our way back out. Let's continue our descent. Does she say the same thing if I... Yeah. Well, now we know, right? Spoiler light. That's a good term for what we're doing here. Only beginning of game spoilers, I suppose. So she's just waiting for me now, yeah? What happens if I don't talk to her? Oh.
People have been falling ill after coming into contact with the gloom drifting through these caverns. Though here it seems almost misty and not concentrated enough to harm us. We'll keep going. With it coming
Is the game very quiet? Hang on, let me turn that up a bit.
We do not know what
We're also in kind of a quiet section.
So we need to be ready for anything. But I know I'll be okay with you, Link. Let's go solve this mystery.
I will say, as much as I adore this game from what I've played of it, cutscene animation is not much better than the previous one, which is a bummer. It's still a little surprising to me. So with Zelda walking forward, I know she's kind of got her own, like, path thing going on. Is she just staying within a specific radius of me? Like, if I take, like, 3 steps forward, will she go, like, that same distance and then stop? Or does she just go to another... Does she just have, like, specific stop points where she stops and waits for me? Or is it a distance? I think it's a distance thing. Leashes to a certain range, yeah. By the way, Floyd, impressive work making friends earlier tonight. How are you handling being a little gator now? So, for those of you who don't know, Games Done Quick, Summer Games Done Quick is going on right now. The speed running event for charity, which is wonderful, one of my favorite things of the year. She's just gonna wait for me, huh? Yeah. And there was a Little Gator game run today by It's Bites, which I'm very thrilled about because Little Gator Game is the first game the only game I've ever speed run, and It's Bites was the runner whose runs I studied to actually, like, learn how to do it. So it was really cool to watch just for that reason. And they were like 2 seconds off of world record too. It was really bonkers. But also, like, there was a donation and bidding incentive for the Gator's name, and Floyd won, which was extremely sweet and cute. So it's been a very good... It's been a very cool day in that regard. Delightful. That's definitely faster than our version of Floyd got through Little Gator Game. I'll say that. Hey, thanks for the 9 months, Valbatros. All right, Zelda, I'm coming. So she's got some, like... She's got, like, a basic walking cycle, but she's also got some, like, head and eye tracking. And she has some, like... Her regular walk is slightly different when she goes downstairs. Do we have more stairs? Ahead? I still really like the system of theirs where they have, like, chat interactions where you still have, like, free camera movement. I still think that's a really good system. Yep. Weirdly, like, these interactions here, in terms of, like, face animation and presentation, bother me less because they are clearly very simple things. Like, there's just a different pose and face expression kind of tied to each dialogue box and, like, a little gesture that happens. And it's less detailed than the face animation in a full cinematic cutscene, but the cinematic cutscene stuff doesn't have, like, it just feels so sparse and unappealing in with a lot of the face expressions that it's my expectations for this are lower for this kind of chat interaction. She does head track me a little bit though. That's nice. Good little detail. And walks around me too, so I can kind of interrupt her little AI path. I guess that was the case in Breath of the Wild as well. I'm in your way. You tolerate a lot from me. I do like the little animations they've added for her for kind of like looking around the space. How long do you think it took to develop the dynamic Zelda walking path? In part, I don't know, because that's much more a programming and engineering and maybe tech art challenge than it is an animation one. Like, the animations that she has would be something that an animator would be in charge of, but, like, AI pathing is very much more a AI and programming type thing, which is way out of my wheelhouse. Hang on, I'm a little behind now. Thank you for the 9 months, Cyclops Boy. And also, Ratstronomer. I don't have a Korok seed, so here's a sub. But also, thank you for the Pichu there. Give me a username. What's your favorite champion? I don't know if it's the same champions in Tears of the Kingdom as in Breath of the Wild, but in Breath of the Wild, of the champions, it's got to be between Sidon and... What's the Gerudo lady's name? I forget. Both strong... Urbosa, that's right. Both strong contenders. Thank you. Also, Rob Raccoon for the 9 months. So I was, like, I had written a whole video for New Frame Plus where I was going to be talking about sort of just Link's lack of personality in his animation in Breath of the Wild. But it kind of took long enough to get around to like actually making it that Tears of the Kingdom came out, so I've kind of been rewriting it. Because Tears of the Kingdom has the same problem, which kind of I guess it doesn't completely surprise me, but it is a slight disappointment. It does mean that Link being like this, I think it's a bit more clear now, is an intentional choice and not just an issue of like technical or production constraints on the previous game. Which is very surprising to me. How far ahead of her can I run? Does she mind? Oh. Hey, Bats.
You are not hurt, are you, Link?
Some of it, I think, is actually not even as much an animation problem as the
Look at these murals.
design of their face and their eyes.
The written histories of the royal family include stories of a great war fought long ago.
Also, the fact that,
between allied tribes and someone
and
only ever
apologies
referred
if
to
you won't
as
be able to
the
unsee
Demon
this after I mention it, but I don't know why these main characters in these games are
King. Possible?
slightly wall-eyed.
These murals depict the
Like they've all
same
got a little bit of Homer Simpson's face. And that, I think, is actually part of the problem with some of these, that's, I think, one tiny bit of the part of the problem of
This is
Link
similar to the
feeling
statues we saw earlier. A Zonai.
a little bit vacant all the time and unfocused. It looks like his eyes aren't completely, like,
This depiction certainly
aiming in the right
suggests
direction.
that the
And that's
Zonai
clearly an
descended
intentional
from
choice,
demons.
because his face and Zelda's face and various other characters' faces and their eyes have looked that way for both of these games and in several spin-offs that use the same character models, the Hyrule Warriors game. So it's clearly on purpose.
Were born from a union with
It just
gods
surprises me a little.
descended from the
Like, I feel
heavens.
like it makes them look like they're not looking or focusing directly on something.
These murals tell a similar story.
I've pulled, like,
And if they
people
are
have got the
accurate,
character model
then the gods mentioned were the Zonai.
kind of grabbed from the game and where you can pull it into animation software. I've tried pulling the eyes in just like 2 degrees, just a little bit. It makes a big difference.
The kingdom of Hyrule. This figure. He seems to be stealing something of incredible power from the young kingdom.
I wish they weren't so committed to Link being a silent protagonist. He demonstrably communicates to other characters on dialogue choices, and Link is a reincarnating character. He could
It shows the
have other
demon king.
depictions and does have different personalities. Just let him talk.
And a
Like, I'm
fierce
okay.
battle
I
against him.
kind of agree in a sense. Like, in one hand, I'm okay with him not being a voiced,
If the creature depicted here
speaking
really does
character.
represent the demon king,
but he does not have to be this completely flat in the way that he acts. Frankly, he isn't in most Zelda games. In most Zelda games, Link has more animated personality than he does in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
this mural must
And
be
I think it actually
recorded
is,
in the royal
uh,
histories.
It's not a big problem. It doesn't keep them from being incredible
This
games,
is the imprisoning war.
but I think they could be better games if they actually had some personality to them.
This is a huge discovery. All right then. Now to use this invention of Pura's. I'm glad I didn't leave it behind. It's so easy to record. You point it and click. Oh. Oh, it looks like the rest of the murals are obscured. Just what is this place? Maybe we'll find more answers farther ahead. Link, let's keep moving deeper.
Yeah, so, yeah, Malcroth, like, I completely agree. Even there, where Zelda was, like, extremely excited about this discovery and whirls around to talk to Link, like, her body language and her voice says that, like, conveys that excitement. Her face doesn't. Her face feels very static and flat. That is exactly this thing that kind of bothers me about the faces in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just going to start saying Breath of the Kingdom to abbreviate it. That's what kind of bothers me about the faces in the cinematics here. And I don't know if it is just a limitation in the design of the faces or if it's an intentional aesthetic choice. If it is an intentional aesthetic choice with how these character faces animate, I don't think it's a great one. Well, let's get further into where we can look at more like systems and stuff. It is hard to pinpoint exactly what the issue that's causing it is, Naruhoodie, and I think you're touching on several of the things, like that the cheekbones and the lower lids don't get involved in like the expressions and smiles so much, that the brows don't do a whole lot of movement. The like circle, like the pupils and irises of their eyes being so large in their on like proportionally compared to the whites of their eyes also means that like there's not a lot of like, it doesn't feel like the eyes move a whole lot, so they sort of feel like they're flatly staring forward a lot of the time, which that's more of a design thing than a like movement thing, but it's still an aspect of it. Like, look how large the pupils and irises in their eyes are.
What is that?
Like large eyes, but it means that those certain, like, that the pupils and irises don't have a lot of room to move in the eye, like in the eyeball, like visible socket there. And Zelda's face has a bit more expression than Link's does, at least, which is nice. That can be pretty standard for anime, but like a lot of anime gets a lot more expression out of these face shapes, and a lot of other games that have an anime style look of character have far more expressive character faces than what we're seeing here. Like there's some expression on Link, that's nice. And that's a really good couple of shots right there.
Link!
Was that the sword that seals the darkness? A blade that shatters so easily against my power cannot save you from me. Zelda. You who carries that fragile sword. A Link.
There is a bit more expression than in Breath of the Wild scenes, a bit.
And that was all you could do.
But I do feel like I want to see those pupils move around in the eyes more.
Names.
And that's where, like, the pupils being so kind of static inside the eye shape. Like, you might see slight little wavering or saccadic movement occasionally, but the pupils being so still inside the eyes is partly what kind of makes them feel a little bit flat and mannequin and lifeless a lot of the time, I think. It is really hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, though, because I think it is several, like, it's a bunch of different elements kind of all coming together to result in a slightly less, in a face with less life. But yeah, like, Link has had a lot of animated character to him in past Zelda games. And they do imply some character with him here. Like, I love the sort of sassy replies you're frequently given as options in conversation with other NPCs. Like, that feels like a bit of Link characterization. That kind of feels like intentional after a while, because it is a pretty consistent it's a pretty consistent energy and attitude that infuses your reply options a lot of the time in these two games, and I think that's great. But it's not in the animation at all. It's all in the text, and the text is doing great. The text is lifting its weight, more than its weight. But his animation isn't, and that's not always been the case. Even though Link has been a silent protagonist in like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, and especially Wind Waker, he was just, gosh, so loaded with personality. So expressive. Does anybody know if these are motion captured, like, say, the new God of War games, or if they are body or expression? It's hard to say for sure. I think there is definitely some amount of motion capture that is happening in the cinematics, not the gameplay animation for this, but for the cinematics, yes, they are using some motion capture on Link and Zelda. I don't think they're doing performance capture, which is what they usually call motion capture, where you're also capturing the facial performance, which is what they would do for games like God of War, where they are capturing an actor's full performance, face, voice, body, everything all at once. And even for a lot of these scenes, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these are just hand-keyed and hand-animated.
Link, finally you wake.
But they're definitely not capturing the face at the same time. Or if they are, they're not using any of the data from it.
I've heard a great deal about you from Zelda. Your wounds were severe. I am relieved to see you.
Doggone it, I'm falling behind on everyone resubbing again. Case in point. Thank you for the 9 months, Zorlok Dark Soul. And the 8 months, Littlest Echidna. Feels like it's been forever since I caught a stream. Well, welcome. Feels like forever since I did stream. I've been streaming less lately, to be fair. Partly because I've been very busy, partly because I'm just trying to get this darn Sonic video done. Thank you for the 9 months, Namtam. And 9 months for... Oh, goodness. 9 months for Chris 2C2. And 9 months for Ed is Everywhere. And 9 months for Moon Decay. There's so many of you. You're all very kind. Thank you very much. All right. We are here. I'm not going to move him. We're going to see. What do his idle fidget animations look like? Spoiler, he takes just as long to do one as he did in Breath of the Wild, which is a bummer. It's about a minute and... I want to say about a minute and 10 seconds, which is a bonkers long wait for an idle fidget. It's still way, way, way too long. I will say his just idle loop animation here is a little more subtle and has a little bit more motion, arcing motion to it in like the chest and shoulders and arms and everything. This feels like an improvement. Also, his idle like face, there's a gesture. And this is nice. This is a characterizing little bit. He is looking at this new arm he's got, and I'm willing to bet later in the game he might not do that. I'm willing to bet that's a fidget that's only going to be playing somewhat early as he's just getting used to it. And that's great. That's characterizing detail. That's exactly what I want to see from idle fidgets out of Link when he's just standing there not doing anything. That's great. Also, I really like they've changed his idle face expression to have kind of like the mouth just a little bit open, just the lips parted. And that's more appealing than it was in Breath of the Wild, like where it was just fully mouth closed. Something about that just feels like really nice and appealing. I like that a lot. That's a great change. But you see what I mean about them just very slightly wall-eyed? Just like a little bit, a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit of Homer Simpson face, where it looks like he's not focused on something specific, right? It looks like he is remembering an embarrassing high school memory right now. Oh, apparently the quest log in Japanese is written in the first person, i.e. the quest log is meant to be written by Link. That's kind of cool. And hey, that was a different little fidget right there. And it was a small, subtle one. I like it. It's good. Like, that was more than one, just standing around. These are little improvements. It still should not take more than a minute for each one to play, but they're great. Those are great little touches. There were people who were arguing with me saying that, like, it would be too distracting if Link did little idle fidgets in his animation in Breath of the Wild. It would distract you from all, like, the scenery around you. But, like, those fidgets were very subtle. Those would not, like... I could very easily have not even noticed those as I was talking and just sort of like trying to express my thoughts. those would not be distracting as a visual. They're just nice little subtle signs of life and thought. But okay. Oh, right. No sword. Need sword. I'm going to be nitpicking the face stuff a lot in this stream. But, like, let me just reiterate. This game rules. Like, this is one of my new favorite games from what I've played of it. It is incredible. I cannot believe the absolute nerve of them taking their most influential, important game they've made in the last decade and, like, releasing a sequel that improves on it this much. Uncool, Nintendo. In a way, it's comforting to me every now and then seeing some aspect of this, like something that Nintendo's teams aren't especially great at. I think the cinematics in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are not great. They're just kind of okay. And it's almost comforting because it's entirely too easy, even as someone who works in the industry, to occasionally just like kind of forget that the folks at Nintendo are just other game developers like you working on games. It's easy to just think of them as these wizards who just magically make incredible things that no one else could. And they are, like, they deserve full credit for making amazing creative things. But they're also like every other game dev studio, they have the things that they're good at and they have their weaker points. And it's nice every now and then having a reminder that, okay, there are some things they're not as good at as other game studios. Accessibility features, for instance. I do feel like his basic locomotion has been improved somewhat too. Like, I can't really A/B test it right here without having Breath of the Wild open, but he's got like a lot more. He's got more animations involved in his basic just running around. Let's look at that in depth once we get out of the once we get out of here. Who's got time for jumping? I'll just fall. I do like having him. The long hair is actually a really nice touch. The secondary animation, no, not secondary animation. The overlap that adds to his running as it kind of flops loosely behind is a really nice just textural detail to his movement. It feels really good. You literally have to use an emulator to play because there's no accessibility options. Oh, that's a bummer. I mean, I'm glad you have the option that you can play it that way. I'm sorry you have to, though. That does suck. That's not something you should have to do to enjoy the video game. Jeez, though. This runs on a Switch. That's stupid. I can't believe this runs on a Switch. Let's go. I'm pretty sure Link fully stops his vertical motion during this title sequence to buy more time for the title reveal. That's possible. That's very possible. Worth it, though. Jeez, what a strong intro. Yeah, they're definitely like slowing his fall or doing something to artificially extend it. You're right. I hadn't thought about that, but good observation. I love that the music ties in. Like, if you don't dive faster, the music ties into your falling pace too. Boy, that had to take a long time to tune. A fair number of people spent weeks making that opening, that little opening, that 20 seconds right there. They spent a long time tuning that. Man. By the way, thank you for the 7 months, Suspooter. And also, thanks for subscribing, Kyomushi. Welcome. Hello. These things are cool too. By the way, if at any point you'll have an interest in wondering, like wanting to look at a specific animation, or if you have a question about the animation in this that you want me to look at a specific thing, by all means, shout it out in chat. I'll try to be keeping tabs on chat so that I can notice it. Oh, that didn't take long. Let me get a stick. I like that they still give you camera control during this stuff, so you get a nice little freeze frame. What a cool pose, too. Ow. My stick. Apple. But her hair really does add so much. I'm actually kind of glad that I've been spending the last week or so, whenever I have a free hour, playing Breath of the Wild instead of this, because like it's easier for me to see and more quickly notice like what's been improved or changed. So here, let me first remember what's back here. Do I want it? Yes. Stick. Cool. Okay. So first exercise, I'm curious, and this may take a little bit for us to figure out, but I want to know. And maybe this will make a good little micro New Frame Plus video later, I'm not sure. How many animations do you think it takes for Tears of the Kingdom Link to just run around? Like, if only the animations involved in, like, moving the left stick around on basic terrain, not involving climbs, not involving crouch, not involving combat, not involving anything else. How many animations are involved in that? I don't know. I'm just, I don't know the answer yet, but we're going to find out. Or we're going to guess. It's going to be hard to pinpoint exactly, because locomotion can get very complicated, but I'm seeing a wide range of guesses in chat. And any one of you could be right. So, all right, let's start figuring it out. Let's start basic. So, we won't count just the idle and standing there, because that's not really moving. So, just moving the left stick as slowly as possible. We've got a basic walk cycle. If I tilt it a little faster, eventually... Okay, there's a faster walk. That's 2. So that's 2 independent cycles that blend from one, like, that blend between each other depending on how far you tilted the stick. Now, I think that's just 2 cycles, but we're seeing kind of like a soft blend between the 2, depending on how far the stick is tilted. And then if you tilt it further, there's the 3rd cycle, which is the jog. So I think that's 3. I think that's 3 involved just in left stick at variable speeds. And we'll count the sprint. Sure. 4. If you hold down B at the same time. So that's 4. But notice, as I'm walking around, if I turn, notice how Link turns into it. You see him like turning his head a little bit and kind of turning his upper body, twisting a little bit, leading the turn. It's easier to see from up here. See that? That means probably, under the hood, that he has not just this walk cycle here, but he also has a variant of that walk cycle where he is like kind of like left turning like this, and a variant of it where he is right turning like this. And depending on how far you are kind of like turning him, it will blend between these 3 different versions of that cycle. Now, there's several different ways they could do this under the hood. It could be that it's one walk cycle and several like kind of additive layered poses on top of it that are getting blended in, depending on how much he's tilting into it. There's several ways you could do it under the hood, and it's impossible for me to guess just from looking. But I think we can basically, just for sheer numbers purposes, count that as 3 slow walks. A right turn, a left turn, and a moving straight. He also probably has that for fast walk. Straight, right, and left. And for jogging also, I'm willing to bet. Hang on. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, it's even actually more exaggerated because you can see him lean into it more. So that's actually 9. And then the sprint, which also has them, so 12. And we're just getting started because he doesn't just clean hey, what's up, Dragon? Well, he doesn't just cleanly blend into his walk. He has kind of a starting transition where he sort of like starts taking a step, right? So that's going to be an animation of its own. Does he always start with the left foot? I think so. Yes. Okay. So he's got a start walking animation and maybe a start jogging as well. It blends so fast that it's really hard to tell. We'll call it for simplicity's sake, we'll call that 2 starts. A jog start and a walk start. Does he have like a sprint start? I don't think so. So for starts, we'll call that... All right, we're up to 14. He also has these little... Like, if I just tap the stick, he does kind of turn. And it's hard telling how many of these there are. It almost looks like it might be sort of like the start animation happening in place, because it's not turning him where it's doing sort of like a organic like change in foot placement. It looks like he's just sort of like spinning, like lifting the leg to start moving, and that would sort of be the start of his start animation, except he's canceling out of it very quickly. I think. He does have a version for each, like, the foot that lifts depends on which direction I'm turning him, though. We'll go conservative on it and say that's 2. Just 2 kind of like turn start, or like 2 different versions of the start moving animation for if he's turning. And his hair is moving as well. I think that's mostly... that's partly physics. The initial flare up of it might be something that's kind of manually added, but the settle it does afterward is definitely, they're like just real-time physics. I think he does have a unique turn animations and not just starts, though, especially if you do the full, like, 180 flip. We'll say it's just 2 turns. Just, that's probably more, but we'll say it's 2. He also probably has... Like, if we're just doing general turns like this, he's kind of got these leaning turns, but if we just, like, if I'm jogging in one direction and I immediately flip to go in the other way, that little pivot is also another little transitional animation that's required. It's very responsive. Like they're definitely sacrificing like realistic physics and body mechanics in order to keep him feeling like sharp and in your control, which is a very good call for this kind of game. This would feel artificial and gamey if like Ellie from The Last of Us was running and turning this sharply and quickly. But I think it is a very good call for Zelda. So let's see. Starting to lose count here. We're up like 16, 18 maybe? There's also, it's not really an animation, but they do also have the leg IK involved, which is, which ensures that his feet kind of stay planted on the ground once you stop. It seems to kind of like blend in once you bring him to a stop. So let's say if he's like running on stairs, and then yeah, it will shift so that he's got one foot up on the stair, one stair, and the and one foot on the other. So it's just sort of, it's adapting his idle pose to the terrain. We won't call that an animation. That's just an animation systems that's involved. But do you think like Link's animation is animation based, or a movement is animation based, or do you think the animation is a layer on top of a simpler moving system? I'm willing to bet his motion is capsule based and not like root motion animation driven. This is, we're getting into like tech stuff a little bit for game animation here, but and I'm going to explain this real bad because I'm not a super technical person, but the difference basically is if a character's animation is animation driven, then the animation assets kind of drive how your character controls. And the way your character is controlled is somewhat limited by what the animations allow. So your character will run at the speed, like your character's run and turning speed will be at whatever speed is dictated by the animations themselves. The other way of doing it, which is actually the way that they like has been around for longer, is capsule driven. This is probably not the official term. There's not an official term. What am I saying? It's game dev. Everyone has their own term for it. Is capsule driven, where imagine Link is just a cube. A cube just being moved around, controlled by my left stick around the space. Like, imagine that whatever his little collision shape is, just like a little circle or oval or whatever, is what I'm controlling and running around. And they've created a bunch of animations to sort of make it look like, to sort of like match the speed and everything else that of this capsule that I'm doing, to kind of give the illusion of him moving around in that space. I'm explaining this so bad, but it's basically in one system, animation kind of drives the motion. In another system, the motion is driven kind of by the system, and your character's animation is just sort of like trying to convincingly look convincing in selling your character's body mechanics and motion. God, that's hard to explain with just words alone. Animation-driven motion tends to look more grounded and physically realistic and, like, correct, but it also has a tendency to not feel as responsive or feel as precise to control a lot of the time, in my experience. Can I see how the movement animation changes when he's carrying something? Oh, that's a good idea. So, I don't know if we should count these. No, you know what? We won't count these. Oh, we could, but because Link does have some upper body only layered overrides here. So like an overriding layer is playing on Link's upper body here. That makes it to where instead of swinging both of his arms like he normally would here, instead, since I have him holding the weapon, that arm holds the stick out instead. And if I have him sprint, he automatically sheaths it. I wonder if they've got, like... additional, like, if that's basically just one simple overriding layer, having the arm do a different kind of pose and not pump back and forth nearly as much, or if they're having to add, like, a whole bunch of different animations to blend into that layered thing, too, just to make the arm do the right thing, depending on what animations are going on. I think they'd have to, because, like, look, his arm is more straight and stiff when you're just walking, but if you start jogging, the arm kind of drifts further back behind him, and it does pump back and forth a little bit more. Yeah, there's definitely, like, several overriding layered animations involved just on the upper body here. The lower body is playing the same animation, exactly the same, but they've got some, it's kind of a variant upper body override thing going on for when he's got something here. If you want to if you want to see and feel the difference between capsule-driven and animation-driven animation really handily, just within a single franchise, play a little bit of Assassin's Creed Unity, which is animation-driven, and then Assassin's Creed Origin, which switched to being, I'm pretty sure, capsule-driven. Because your player character in Origin suddenly feels like a lot more responsive and precise in your control of their movement, but the body mechanics and physicality of their motion don't feel nearly as like solid and grounded. There's a lot more specificity and realistic physicality to the motion of your player character in Assassin's Creed Unity, and it looks amazing. They both really do, but like in Origins, they trade off some of that animation fidelity for control, which might be the right. Honestly, that might be the right call. Hey, thanks for joining, Regin. Good night. Anyway, let's see. I think we were up to around, like, 17 or 18 animations here. If we start counting in upper body layered, like, an override stuff, that's going to get a lot more involved, because then, yeah, there's, like, this overriding animation for picking a thing up, which, you can see that, like, that, animation plays there on the full body if you're standing still, because see, like, his waist and legs kind of get involved a little bit in turning slightly as he puts the thing in his pocket. If you're running around, though, then the legs are going to keep doing the running around locomotion, and the upper body, just the upper body, is going to play that put the thing in my pocket animation. Let me find something to put in my pocket. Stick. Here we go. There we go. Works pretty nice. I feel like we're not done, though. I feel like there's more animations and systems at play here. Does he have something different for stairs? Kind of? Maybe? Hang on. That might honestly just be his, like... I bet he has something different for slopes and stairs kind of activated. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah, of course it does. Because like, remember how like anytime you start going up a slope, he starts like showing more effort before he gets to climbing. Like that higher effort stuff has to start kind of blending in somewhere. So hang on, how many are involved in this? There's a little more effort there, a lot more effort leaning forward, further forward. God, it's getting hard to actually start figuring out how many animations are involved in this now because of how many are starting to blend together. Spoilers, locomotion is really complicated and it always involves way more animations than you'd think. And Legend of Zelda, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's locomotion is actually pretty simple and stripped down for a AAA game. So yeah, he's got like a higher effort. I want to say like 3 stages of higher effort motion in the kind of building up toward climbing. It's hard to tell because we're not getting like a perfectly smooth slope here. Wonder if we can find a better spot. Oh yeah, if we use like shields and locking on, which I won't count that in locomotion because that's starting to get into combat. As soon as I click lock on, that shifts him into a completely different motion state, right? Because before, if I click backward toward me, he will turn around and start running in this direction. If I am locking on, he will shift into a strafing animation set, which is completely different. Different default posture, different animations, where he's like angling his body a bit as he moves forward. And always stays facing in one direction. Like he's facing directly forward or wherever the enemy is, and he's got a completely different set of animations for running in different directions and at different speeds. What else? I thought I noticed something really interesting when he was starting to go up a hill. Let's go a little further into where we can like get a little bit more variety of terrain here. I notice time of day isn't changing yet. I wonder how far I have to get. I'm guessing first shrine. Before time of day kicks in. Don't forget there are all the crouch animations too. That's true. We'll leave those out since I just said sort of basic, just running around locomotion. But yeah, like it's a pretty artificial, arbitrary line that I've drawn, right? You could like, we could be counting in. There are so many different animations that touch on or get mingled in with the basic locomotion that you really could include a lot if you wanted to. Let's see, current count, assuming estimate of 3 slope animations is correct, and I've correctly understood the sword running numbers. It appears to be around like 32 so far. Yeah, we're getting up there. I'm gonna have to do a more like solid count of this, possibly on my own time. In lock-on state, it looks like he's trying to avoid crossing his feet over each other unless he's actually going sideways. That's a bit of a martial arts thing. It's true. It's a martial arts thing and also a real pain in the butt animation thing. I'll try to explain that if I can in a second. Leg strafing system setup can be a real pain in the butt.
Nah.
I didn't even think of like snow and sand either. Shoot, different kinds of terrain. Ah, it's another one. Good thinking. Thanks for the Zote, by the way. Ever thought of a mini New Frame Plus about the changes made to Nier Automata from the original PS4, Xbox One to be able to run on the Switch? I'm guessing... I'll have to look at it, because I don't know if I've looked at the Switch version. I'm guessing the animation's very similar, though. Like, animation is not a thing that often gets heavily impacted in ports, because animation data is ultimately not nearly as like space consuming as like texture data or audio or video data. Like I bet every single, I'm probably wrong, but I bet the data for every single animation Link has in the entire game is smaller than the file size of this texture, of this effect texture right here. Probably not entirely true. For like a modern AAA game, probably like a modern AAA high def, like 4K PS5 PC game, almost definitely yes. Switch game, maybe not. Those textures will be smaller, but animation file sizes are not large. There's just a lot of animations is the thing. 4K textures add up fast, yes. 4K video is enormous. Uncompressed audio, also very large. I like these things. Hey, do you notice me if I get in your way? Or do you... Maybe you notice me, you just ignore me. That's fair. Oh, and, well, maybe now that I'm bothering you a little bit. Oh, if I run into you, then you kind of, like, get disrupted. So it's not just me being around you. You're fine with that. If I bump into you, though, you do react. Neat. We can also hit them with a stick. That's a fair point. And they're going to have some sort of reaction, especially because it's Nintendo. And Nintendo seems to really just, in terms of design, enjoy thinking of all those sort of little edge cases or things the player might do and acknowledging them in some way. In some sort of cute way. And, like, they're not alone in that. Lots of games do that. But that's a pretty cute little response behavior. They turtle up. They have a little bit of dialogue to make you feel guilty for your actions. And then sort of a come back out of their shell and start moving around animation. It's great. Nintendo makes just such good digital playgrounds. It's out of control how good this game is. I'm willing to bet a lot of those details are the result of carefully observing playtests. Oh, 100%. Carefully observing playtests and probably a whole lot of, like, directors and leadership folks running around in a space and feeling like it would be pretty delightful if something happened when I did this. I think and then the team has to, like, figure out and be like, all right, we're doing it again, I guess. That's gotta be... Gosh, that's gotta be such an intimidating aspect of working at Nintendo. Like, working anywhere where there's certain, like, figures within the company who are sort of a kind of royalty within your industry and field. Like, who's gonna say no? Who's gonna tell Miyamoto no? Which, yeah, on one hand can, like, get dangerous if no one's willing to, like, tell a creative person sort of no and sort of, like, push back on bad ideas. But also, like, if a creative has an idea and says, like, oh, I'd love for this thing to get added to the game. No one's gonna say no to that, probably. Can we get a smoother slope around? It looks like we could get some smoother slopes around here. I want to see if we can get a little bit more of a detailed look at Link's uphill. Okay, so he has, all right, basic walk, higher effort walk. And it evens out. It's not just the walk, though, I'm noticing. And I don't know if this is something that Breath of the Wild had. But this is interesting. I'm going to have to go back and check at some point. Notice that before he even gets to the hill, before he even shifts to a I'm walking up the hill animation, look what his head tilt does. He starts looking up the hill before he gets to it. That's cool. And then his like view levels out before he gets to the top of the hill too. I love that. Okay, so that probably means, I'm guessing, he's got a little like collision locator thing, basically, probably like 8 feet in front of him constantly, that is just always kept like kind of right in front of his head or eye direction or whatever. And if it detects an increase, like if it detects an increase in elevation, it starts moving up and following the collision of the ground, and his eyes might follow it. Something like that, I'm guessing. I bet he looks down too. Not when you're standing still, but if I start moving down, yeah, absolutely. And then the view starts leveling out a bit. It may not work under the hood like at all how I'm guessing, but they've got something for that kind of system. That's a cool touch. I like that a lot. Anything you can do, anything that you can technically build into your animation design and system that makes your player characters feel aware of the environment around them is like, it can be little subtle stuff like that nobody actively notices, but it can have such a huge effect in how like intelligent and alive they feel. Like the same sort of thing, like when your character in a AAA game like is running past a wall or something, and they kind of like hold out an arm to kind of run their hand against the wall or something. It's not something you're actively telling them to do. It's just a thing that they do as they're passing through past that kind of bit of environment, right? Or if you shine a light in an NPC's eyes, like you got a flashlight or something, and you look directly, you point your character and the light directly at them. If they react and like kind of hold up a hand to sort of like block the light or something, those little details are what start making the difference between it feeling like you've just got a bunch of video game character models standing around playing animations, and that's where you start seeing the illusion of life in game form. And this little head direction thing with hills is an example of that kind of thing, and I love it. Let's get him walking down a slope. We haven't really tried that yet. Is that arm to the wall stuff just IK magic? It is some IK. IK will be involved in that. So, and this is again something that I can't explain completely. It's definitely a very technical animator sort of thing. I'm guessing for, let's say, Aloy. I know that Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West has that sort of, hey, there's a wall near me, I'm going to hold up my hand against it as I run past it sort of thing. I'm guessing that they've got sort of a upper body override, kind of like animation and posing for like holding that arm out next to her or in front of her, that they'll use IK to kind of correct how far she reaches based on how close the wall is. Because if they just have like kind of a static pose that just holds out a set distance all the time, then that won't really follow the wall, right? And it might even clip through the wall if you move too close to it or something. Now I'm guessing that, so IK will probably there to make sure that she doesn't actually like push her hand through the wall or anything, but yeah, I don't really know how they would set that up under the hood, but IK would be involved in some way. Let's try walking down the hill. Because yeah, he does look down the hill before he gets to it. That rules. Need an even, smooth slope. It's hard to find one. This might work. That is a little bit like bouncier. It's like a little different than his regular walk. He does have a kind of like, yeah, like I'm walking down a hill sort of thing. So there's another one. What about a steep one? too short. It's hard to tell. We'll say it's just one. It's probably more because it probably also involves... It probably also has, like, turns and stuff, but we'll say it's just one. There probably is a different one if it's even steeper, and also different ones depending on how fast I'm going up or down the hill. Yeah? It's hard to tell, though. That's the thing with locomotion. It involves so many animations blending into and transitioning into each other that the seams start getting hard to find. And he slides, too. Yeah, that's true. He slides as well once it gets too steep, which that counts. Well, I mean, that's just sort of your capsule sliding down the hill. But there's the slide. There's a little bit of it. So there's another one. Someone mentioned shallow water. Like if you're walking through shallow water, that's a more high effort looking animation as well. You're right. That'll be another one probably. Yeah, let's keep moving to different areas that create new opportunities. I'm not going to include climbing in this, although I do want to try... I'm not going to include climbing in the count, but I am curious to try... Oops. There's like a rock up here I could push on this thing, isn't there? Yep. Let's do that. Oh, is there a sprinting 180-degree turn? Oh, didn't even think to try that. Good idea. Good rock. Let me try it again. There we go. That's the satisfaction I'm looking for. Ha-ha! I hit you with a stick. Already loaded up on melee weapons. Well, a bunch of them are tree branches I don't want, so... Yeah. Get that out of here. Give me a long stick. All right, 180-degree turn. Ooh, that's nice. Yes, a little skidding like turn. I forgot the running out of stamina. That's more. Hang on, that's more. That 180-degree turn, it like skid pivot turn is great though. Let's look at that first. That's real nice. I like that. Yeah. Really nice touch. Is the 180 different depending on the direction? Maybe? It seems like he always does it to the right. But no. I think he can do it to the left as well. I think it is depending very slightly on whether I've got the stick like turned 179 or minus 179 degrees, basically. So yeah, I think it is. There are left and right variants of that. Also, this isn't included in the count, but I just love that if you keep jumping, rather than just playing the exact same left foot forward jump every time, Link will alternate so that it looks like he's bounding through the fields. Which is wonderful. And someone on that dev team clearly loves that concept because they do that. They don't just do that with the jump. They do that with a lot of things. For example, if I decide I want to eat 7 mushrooms, if I just eat one, okay, that's how it looks. But if I eat all of these, watch his hands. Oh, wait, hang on. I got to figure out how to do it faster. Hold up. There's got to be a way I can do this faster. Oh, my heart's already full. Okay. I need more. I need to be almost dead. That's my problem. 2 alive. Hang on. This is what gravity's for. We're wrong playing now. Woo! Okay, I need more gravity. You. Swing stick. Rinse and repeat. Come on. Do it, coward. Once more. Let's go. Thank you. Now I can eat mushrooms. Video games. There we go. Okay. Now let's see. If I just eat really fast and spam it, I think he's going to alternate hands. Yep. Somebody at Nintendo loves this alternating idea, and they're not getting that for free. They're doing that on purpose. Like, that someone had that idea. It's like, no, it would be cute. Yes, you heard me. Mirror the animation. Make a left-handed and right-handed version of it. No, I know we don't need it. It'll be funny. They do it if you, like, I almost definitely don't have stamina for this, but if we're climbing, and you jump further up the slope, I think he alternates there too. Come on. Up. Yep. Don't have enough stamina or slope to really show it off, but they did stuff like that. They did stuff like that all the time in these systems. Somebody in chat asked, if you do that slower, if you eat slower, will they alternate hands? Will they alternate hands then? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that by default, usually, if you're in the menu and you just eat something, Link eats with his right hand each time. Okay, I can eat 2 apples here. Wait, no. Yes, I can eat 2 apples here. So we'll do it slower. 1 and 2. Yep, right hand every time, unless you do it fast. Wonderful. I love it. It's completely unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. That's kind of why it's great, though. An eating cancel animation. Sorry, I stole your roasted mushroom. I love seeing cool work that other animation teams and tech animators and just that other teams make. I love getting to just see the sort of creativity and start getting just a peek under the hood to see all of the complex machinery happening under there just to make this magical experience work. If you do a run where you don't eat anything, is it a game's done fast? That's a good joke. I like it. Ooh, water. Is it deep water? Yes. We won't count swimming, but that's another animation system too. I really like Link's just treading water, holding steady. I think that feels really nice. It's the way the arms are kind of doing that sort of figure 8 pattern. Keeping him upright and steady in place. They've not done a whole lot for him, like, turn swimming, but he does, like, look into it. If not, you know, he kind of leans into it a little bit. They're definitely reusing a lot of animation on Link in this sequel, which is good. They should do that. Every sequel should do that. I don't know how so many people in the gamer community got it in their heads that reusing animations from one game to the next is a bad thing or a sign of laziness or something. No, it's good, and every game, every sequel should do it. Because, yeah, like, every animation they are not remaking is freeing up time and resources to make new things and more things. Like, there's literally no need. They've clearly, like, added some more detail and some more, like, nuance to Link's motion and mobility and combat and stuff like that. Which is good. They were probably able to do a good amount of that because they had a foundation already in place that they could just reuse and then keep refining and building on top of. instead of starting from scratch and reinventing the wheel. It's like comical to me when you see like some post on Twitter or somewhere of like people showing a side by side of like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok of all things, like one of the most animated games you've ever seen, showing that like, oh look, Kratos getting into a boat is the same in both games, lazy. It's like he's getting into a boat. What, do you want him to do a backflip this time? It's the same action. He's getting into a boat. This game is not hurting for cool animation to look at. And now, instead of just boat riding, now there's also dog sled riding and other kinds of cool vehicles and things like that that they can go and make because they've already got the boat thing. It's like, I don't understand what they're wanting. I think they're just wanting to look for some kind of... I don't even know what they want. It's like they're looking for some kind of smoking gun, easy gotcha, sort of like, haha, the devs are your enemy and they're here and like they're trying to get away with something and I can prove it. Like, I don't understand that mentality, but it seems, it's like the only explanation I can think of for some complaints like that I see.
I'm sorry. I did not intend to startle you.
Maybe contrarianism of a form of a kind really is just the answer to it. I don't know.
Originally belonged to me.
It's probably a case of like one, like it's probably a case of like, actually a lot of people don't think that. One like silly 13-year-old thought that and made the video and put it on Twitter somewhere, and then 10,000 people in the game industry retweeted it as a sign of like all the idiots out there saying dumb things to dunk on it, and now the one 13-year-old's bad opinion has now been built up in all of our heads as a thing that lots of the gamers think.
You might be able to restore it.
Social media doing what it does best.
Filled with sacred light. Of course.
I guess part of it is probably also, and it's definitely not always just like one person getting amplified. There is a sense of entitlement and sort of like a how dare you cut corners in this thing you made for me. That sort of
yes, I'm sure they are.
entitlement of you owe me a great thing that doesn't disappoint me in any way. Like that definitely exists in some subsets of the gaming community, and it shouldn't because it sucks. But that probably is also an aspect of it. By the way, this was like, I'm 10 minutes late to this now. Thank you, Barry to Engineer, for the 9 months. I love to play games wrong. I'm currently playing Summoner in Final Fantasy XIV, and my raid mates would probably describe my experience that way. Any gaming experience can be a wrong play if you're bad enough. It's my secret, Cap. I'm always wrong playing. Now, what else can we get into here? It's got like a little landing that kind of blends into his run as well. That's kind of nice. I don't know if it's the same animation as his regular landing. It doesn't feel like it. I think if it was, then it would like mess with what his feet are doing. I think it's like he's got like a standing in place, soft landing, and a running like land that transitions right back into the run. It's really nice. I'm doing this sort of like animation counting exercise with Tears of the Kingdom because with a lot of other AAA games, this would be impossible. There's too many animations blending too cleanly. Oh, here's the thing that I was going to talk about earlier. The reason why, thanks for the arrows, the reason why Link's strafing stuff is set up to where his feet don't entirely cross over each other at any point. Part of that is, yes, like that's kind of like good balance, like martial art form technique. Part of it is that there's a kind of tricky thing with designing strafe move sets where there is a certain point where you probably do need to set it up to where there's certain situations where the left foot should be crossing in front of the right one, and certain situations probably naturally for most people where the right foot would cross over the left. But at a certain point, there's a threshold where you'd want to do one or the other. And sometimes, depending on how your animation setup works, the line between those two can result in some real fiddliness in the legs. And you can kind of see it a little bit. They've done a pretty good job setting it up here where nothing looks too bonkers and weird. But like his feet can start doing some kind of like weird things if I start switching between, like if I start changing his direction up kind of sporadically and unnaturally with what his legs and feet are kind of trying to do. And it's good that they, like, the important thing here is that they're allowing me to change direction as quickly and often as I want without worrying too much about how realistically, like, physical and possible that is for a human to do. Because it's a video game, and I, as a player, am not controlling this with my legs and my balance. I'm controlling it with a stick, and I want Link to move the way I want him to quickly so that he doesn't get hit and he's positioned where I want him to be. And so that's good. That's a good thing for them to prioritize. But trying to design a system that allows for that while also making the animation look kind of right and not bad under any circumstances is near impossible. The Tanglefoot thing is exactly why we're taught not to cross feet over each other in martial arts classes. Makes sense. Oh, hey, you're right. Trigger for time of day was that last cutscene. There it was. Now we're getting sunset. And it looks nice. Stop shooting at me. Ow. I'm talking about animation. You're breaking my sword. Next time I'm dipping into Breath of the Wild, I'm gonna have to like start looking at these basic movement movesets again, because I think I had not realized until literally this stream how much I think they've added to Link's locomotion in Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm pretty sure Breath of the Wild is a lot more stripped down and simple than this even. And yet his face still looks like a mannequin in so many narrative scenarios. It's fine. Certainly doesn't stop it from being one of my new favorite games, period. Oh no, my stick. No, sword. I am back to stick life. Can you tell us what locomotion is exactly, Dan? Animations, depending on context. Oh, so locomotion is basically the animation term for the character running around. Just basic moving, walking, running, like crouch walking, turning, pivoting, starts and stops. We didn't count the stops in the tally before, did we? No, because he does have like a little settle if you stop him moving. Is it different than if he... Can't tell if it's a different animation when you... I think it's the same one. Just sort of a stop settle. There we go. Yeah. There are also the animations for if you run out of breath, though. Because for one, that's a different run cycle that also has turns. That's different than his regular jog. So that's 3 more just for the I'm out of breath jog. And then also the start, loop, and finish for his, oh gosh, I'm out of breath. I'm dying. I'm okay. So that's 3 for the out of breath run, 3 for the out of breath idle resolve. It's so many. So yeah, like animation terminology is a inconsistent nightmare across like every different game studio or film studio or whatever has their own terms for various things. Probably 3 different terms for the same thing in one studio. It's stupid. But locomotion is usually the term used for just kind of like the category of animation that involves just running and walking around. Traversal is sometimes used interchangeably, but more often I've heard traversal used for stuff like locomotion is walking and running around, and traversal might be more for like traversing obstacles. So like climbing might be kind of a form of traversal. Mantling over a waist-high wall would be a kind of traversal. Sliding might be a kind of traversal. Tight, like balance teetering across a narrow platform, maybe. Like that kind of thing. Let's look at his climbing real fast. Because I think it's the same, but I need to look a little bit more closely now. The cycles are the same. Or if they are different, it's very subtle. I think his climbing is exactly the same. If they've added anything, I'm guessing it's specific like transitions into and out of it. Like in Breath of the Wild, there's not like a custom transition for going from swimming state into climbing state. He just kind of blends pretty smoothly right from one to the next without any transitionary sort of thing. And maybe that's the same now, but maybe that's a kind of animation that they've added some more things to here. I wonder, here's one thing that I really wish they'd added in Breath of the Wild that I don't know if they've added here. Does he have an idle fidget if he's just left here? I will wait a minute and 15 seconds to find out. You had no idea how many distinct parts could go into just moving around. No, it's like, even as an animator, I've been animating in games for how long? 10 years now, and I still am shocked by how many animations it takes just to get your character to just basic run around. It's always, that's the takeaway. If there's one takeaway from this stream and from like wrong plays in general that I do, it's that for any system that involves animations, it probably involves 10 times more animations than you'd think it would. Did they decrease the time for idle fidgets? They did not. So apparently this is an intentional choice that baffles me. You really should have an idle fidget for standing on a wall. I know there's like very rarely a circumstance where a player is going to just stay on a wall and not move for a prolonged period of time, even though they can, because it doesn't drain stamina. But climbing is such a huge aspect of this game. It seems like such a good opportunity for a little detail of him just like adjusting his grip or like shaking like one hand because of like there's a little bit of fatigue, just to sort of like flex his hand a little bit just to rest it for a second, or do a Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2 and just sort of like let go with one hand and sort of like look out behind him at the scenery, just take in the view. There's so many things you could do for just an idle fidget if you're stuck on a wall. And that's the sort of subtle detail that Nintendo, like a characterizing detail that so many Nintendo games would jump on. And these games are giant. So like there's tons of scenarios that Link's animation does account for, and they can't account for literally everything. So like I'm mostly just baffled because that seems to me like a good opportunity that I'm surprised they didn't jump on. That Tom Cruise mountain climbing idol would be great for screenshots. You're right. I love how these new shrines, I love that little illusion of space, that impossible space sort of thing with the shrines in this game. Is so cool. Darn, this game's cool. Playing shovelware and asset flip games off of Steam really highlights how many animations are needed in 2D to look good and smooth too. The seams are so obvious in a lot of those games. Often a total lack of transition into slow down, chat. Transition animations is the most immediate thing. Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. Like it takes a lot of animation to make everything flow together seamlessly and handle all the different like transitions to and from different states that your character can be in. It just takes so much animation coverage, especially in a big open world game like this, where there are so many systems that can overlap and interact with each other in unpredictable ways. Man, the new powers in this game are so good too. They did not have to go this hard. I'm amazed at how at how much this game improves on Breath of the Wild, a game that is already just so darn stellar. I want that item there. I don't remember what it is, but I want it. Look out. Hey, we made ourselves a slope. Granted, it's not one that like increases, but it's allowing us to see sort of like the uphill, high effort walking, higher effort run, downhill walking, downhill run. Finally. They didn't make the slope we needed, so we made our own. Video games are great, man. And this game is some real technical wizardry. Like Breath of the Wild already is kind of bonkers to me that it's still kind of bonkers to me how well Breath of the Wild runs on Switch, that this works. And like, oh sure, this is kind of like simple physics type stuff. There's some really complex technical stuff that you can do in this game that it's just wizardry. Some of the physics stuff you can do, some of the time stuff you can do with physics stuff. Head spinning. Boy, I'm getting bad at keeping up with alerts. 13 minutes ago. See you later. Thank you very much for the 9 months. I imagine someone's watching Link in the distance wondering what's wrong with that boy. Yeah. I think any wrong play moment I do could be made extremely funny with just sort of a flat camera angle from a distance, just watching the character running around doing something extremely stupid. Whatever stupid thing I'm having him do. Yeah, like this game is bonkers. Am I thinking of building any specific elaborate thing later on? Honestly, not really. Like, I've only played about 6 or 7 hours of this game total in my own time. I've not gotten very far. And I also am not like, I don't think I have the brain for like creative building wizardry that a lot of the community does. I am proud of whenever my stupid creations actually work, though. The game is very good at making you feel smart in that way. You feel like a genius when your stupid, when your stupid, like, bad paddle boat plank works. I saw again on the highlights video that Carrie put together a brand document you don't always use. Are you pretty good at matching the color, or is that not a skill you have? Oh, no, that's very true. So I'm not like amazing at matching the color or anything. Half the time when I'm not using the brand document for a thing, it's usually because it's like a specific case where I feel like I don't need a specific thing to be exactly our green or pink value shade. It's for like kind of a secondary like element in like a thumbnail or some sort of thing where I feel like I want it to be like ballpark pink, but I want to tune the pink to what works best in this, for me, in this composition right now, rather than what is specifically the correct pink, the correct play frame pink or whatever. Which I think Carrie would philosophically agree with, but I think it is understandably frustrating watching someone very specifically not open, be looking for a shade of pink in an art asset for your channel thing and not pull open the document you specifically made to ensure that one could have the correct play frame pink every time. I use Dantone colors. That's very good. I made a bridge. I am a genius. What am I doing going over here? I could ride down a little grind rail thing. You kidding me? I'm not gonna jump down a hill when I could go on a theme park ride of my own creation. You kidding? What if you go to the snow shrine first? I don't know. I mean, I imagine you could get to any one of them in any order, but some of them will be harder than others, I expect. Make him skateboard shield and grind those rails ASAP. Would that work? I bet it would. Well, I bet it would if you were good at controlling shield riding, because he doesn't actually like grind like, well, we're gonna find out. He doesn't actually like grind like a Tony Hawk might. Surely. Surely. What? Are you kidding me? This game rules. They did not have to do that. Darn, this game's good. I love how we haven't got the skill yet, but the fusion skill is like handily solves so many of the inventory and durability issues that Breath of the Wild had. Just in one smooth stroke, just boom, fixed it. It's maddeningly like elegant and clean. Bonkers. All right. Still peeved you can't fuse things to the Master Sword? Oh, wow, imagine. I hadn't even thought about trying that yet. Yeah, no, if your problem with the first game was that weapon durability was a frustrating thing, and that there was a lot of, like, just inventory type items and pickups that it didn't feel like there were a whole lot of good uses for, this game fixes them both cleanly with one ability, basically. And we haven't got it yet, but I think we're going to be getting it pretty soon here, as soon as I build the best bridge you've ever seen in your dang life. Is this enough? I don't know if this is enough. Do you know about the thing Octorocks can do in this game? I don't know if I've run into one yet. I don't know if I've gotten far enough. Good enough, probably. Go, 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 go. We're fine. I really appreciate that they're way more generous with arrows also this time around, especially given how many more things you can do with them, or how many more things I will be able to do with them as soon as I go to the next shrine. Yeah. I'm hunting. What do I think about the animation of these constructs? I think it's pretty good. I think, like, they've got a really neat... They've got a really cool design just from the get-go, even before it's moving. It's just a really cool, unique design, and they're doing some cool stuff with it. I love how, like, all of the parts are kind of animated in a way to where they're meant to look physically separate and kind of like free floating. But I love, like, the little textural details. Like, look down the course of the neck. Like, there's this sort of, like, little jitter and bob on that kind of, like, each individual piece of the neck kind of experiences just bit by bit, which is, like, an intentionally added detail that just feels really nice. Something about it just makes them feel like a little bit more clunky and kind of alien, and that's really cool. It happens on the arms as well. Just that little jump that the individual pieces experience now and then. It's really cool. Like, it's little details like that once they're in there and you see the final product, it all looks like it's a cool idea that looks like, oh, of course it would work that way. Of course it would look that way. It just seems like something that just spontaneously came into existence on its own. But that's an intentional detail and idea that someone kind of came up with and added and thought, like, ooh, that looks cool. I like that. And now, like, I mean, they were right. Like, I think it would be too much if it was, like, if these things were, like, really jittery and jolting, like if the individual pieces were shaking or buzzing a whole bunch. I like that there's still kind of a gentleness to the little, small little jumps and bumps that the individual pieces do. So it's not super noticeable. Like, if you get a distance away from the character, you're not even really going to notice that little detail anymore. It's barely visible. But if you get close, it's in there just kind of subtly. It's just real nice. Yeah, and those weighty earrings, like, which are, I think, just... Yeah, that's just going to be, like, real-time physics on the earring pieces. Those are a nice detail as well. And that's a great thing about being able to do some very simple real-time physics like this, is that, just like Link, these robot characters are being moved with a whole bunch of different... They have a whole bunch of different animations that can play and transition to and blend from one to the other. And it's pretty easy for these sorts of animations to have a little bit of jumpiness or popping or weirdness in the blend from one to the next sometimes, just in the interest of getting from one animation to the other cleanly and having to blend into and out of certain animations at weird times just based on inputs or whatever else. But having a real-time physics thing like that, which is separate from all of those systems, that's just operating on its own and just receiving motion from the stuff it's attached to, helps to really stitch together and smooth over those little seams in some really nice ways. Link's hair is kind of doing the same thing, even though me running Link here and then coming to a stop involves 3 animations, basically. It's the jog, the stop transition, and then the idle. There being a little bit of just sort of residual motion on the hair just across all 3 of those just makes it feel like one smooth motion, right? Helps to tie it all together. I've lost track of what I was doing. I wrong played too greedily and too deep. Guess this is what maps are for, huh? Do I have the ability to... Hold up. Do the, zoom it? Yeah. Probably should have done that earlier when he told me to. We'll find it. It's fine. I think I need to go up this way. I think. There we go. That's the thing I'm aiming for. Darn, this game's pretty. Like, I am as eager for new Nintendo hardware as anybody, especially for the various games that come out on Switch that the Switch really just can't quite run as well as you'd want. The Hyrule Warriors games, in particular, are ones that stand out to me in recent memory, but boy, this game proves that you do not need PS5 level hardware to make a beautiful looking game. Gracious. Let's try to not die, Link. Maybe let's eat something, huh, buddy? Scarf some apples. Nom, 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 nom. Okay. I got so many weak little tree branches, I really should... It does help when you do have it and use it well. I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but... Ha! Stole your shield. I was trying to steal your stick, but I'll get there. There we go. I don't want this. Oh. Forgot about you. Haha! The graphics for PS5. Sorry for the confusion. Thank you also for the 9 months, King of Doma. And 6 months from Dipsy-Koo. So I should probably say it again because it's been hours since I started now. One of the reasons that I'm doing this wrong play thing here today is partly just for the fun of it, because this is fun, but also because I want to... Thank you very much for the bits and the Donald sound. And also, Thanosi, thank you for the 9 months. Thank you very much. Y'all are too kind. But also because hey! Hold that thought. Our little buddy needs help. Yeah, I want to... Here, I'll say the thought before I completely forget. I want to figure out some smaller New Frame Plus videos I can make in between the larger ones that I'm still working on. Stuff that I could even potentially make like a video in a single day, which could be so nice. And I've tried recording like a full kind of wrong play type video for New Frame Plus with Tears of the Kingdom, and it just really did not work out. I wasn't happy with the results. But I think instead what I might try doing is kind of little micro wrong play type stuff, like making little videos about the neat stuff you find in a wrong play, like little explainers about like, hey, look at how this system works. Look at this cool thing. Just little things like that. So I'm kind of looking for fodder for that right now. And I feel like one potential topic could be just getting into the sheer number of animations involved in Link's locomotion. One could be that cool detail where he seems to detect hills with his like head or his look direction before he actually physically gets to them. That little detail, which is really cool. Just some of the other random stuff we've been finding as we go. So yeah, I'm kind of looking for fodder for that right now. Just ideas. Doing wrong play streams where I find some ideas for little mini New Frame Plus videos feels like a system that could work if we can figure it out. Not that I'm not going to keep on making larger New Frame Plus videos. Those are still in progress. I just love to be able to have smaller ones that come out from time to time in between the big ones that take months. Thank you for the Zode as well, Bahabali. Oh, and also for the 9 months, Kikazi. All right. Let's help our little buddy, who is lucky that we don't have rockets yet. Because now that I've seen all the memeing around that, it's all I kind of want to do. I'd love to see a video comparing horse animation across games. That could be a really interesting one. Also a very big one, just because of how many games there are with horses. And the only thing that I feel like I'm not equipped. I feel like I'm not the right person to make that one. Because I was not a horse girl growing up, basically. And not even to gender it. Like, just because people who love horses and know horses know how horses move. They have that understanding really, like, deeply within them. And so they can detect immediately. I can see horse animation and I can feel like, as an animator, I'll look at it and I'll feel like, that looks like pretty good horse animation to me. I like how that feels and moves and looks. And my mom, who is not an animator at all, but does know horses, can be like, nope, and then tell me why. There's a really good blog, I think it's a blog, by I want to say tech animator. Maybe she's an animator, I'm not sure. Does anybody know what this is? There's a blog that somebody who runs a blog basically just reviewing the horse animation in various games. I think she's actually working on a horse game herself. But she's basically reviewing the horse animation in a bunch of games and breaking down how all the things that various games are getting wrong with horse animation. It's great. Part of it is just that, like, the reason horse animation is frequently kind of off is, one, horses are just weird-ass animals. They're very strange. Their physiology, which I don't know if that's a word, but it's strange. The way they move is strange. The way that something that running on those spindly little legs can be that powerful and move that fast is very unnatural and incorrect. And yet beautiful at the same time. But it's also pretty different from a lot of other quadruped style movement and the way that we build rigs for like legs and stuff like that. And if you don't really... There's a lot of ways to, I think, kind of do a good enough job of animating a quadruped that sort of looks like a horse that 90% of people will look at and be like, oh, yeah, that looks fine. And it's really only the people who know horses who will be like, nope. Which, like, that's kind of the case for everything. And that's something you kind of have to get, like, become comfortable with as an animator. You cannot be an expert on everything. You can try to study, and it's bonkers how well this works. You can try to study and learn as much as possible about a thing before animating it so you can get at that authenticity and make it feel right, but you just can't become an expert in everything. Like, I've worked on games where I animated, like all of the animations for, like, gun handling on a character, like from the strafing as they aimed, to the reloads, to the draw the weapon, stow the weapon for all different kinds of guns, firing them, all that sort of stuff. And I was fortunate enough that I happened to, like, I watched a lot of YouTube videos about people who, like, shoot various kinds of guns, looking at their form, their posture, how they hold the gun, how they, like, just the proper grip, reloading technique, stuff like that. But that doesn't make me an expert. It just means I watched some stuff and kind of copied it a bit. Fortunately, one of my coworkers is a veteran who was like a military veteran and sort of like an enthusiast who knows this stuff and could tell me immediately, don't do this thing, animate it this way. That's how, like, he was the person who could say, like, there's so many people who animate reloads where, like, they, like, the instinct is to make an unpracticed reload look like it takes a long time to, like, dig the new mag out of your pocket or some sort of thing like that. No, a person who's not really practiced with a gun, the place they're gonna have a hard time with the reload is getting the mag lined up with the slot to actually, like, insert it and put it in, and like slide it into the gun, into the like a pistol grip or whatever. That's where the unpracticed, untrained person is gonna take a second to like line it up. Like, and that's something that's a detail you can only know if you are an expert in a field. And as an animator, like, you want to try to develop that as much as you can, especially if you need to animate a lot of a thing. But sometimes you can just only get that from just finding an expert and talking to them extensively and getting their help. And having someone on hand who can tell you when something is like, nope, wrong, is invaluable. So I'm super grateful whenever I have somebody at work who I work with who has expertise in a particular thing, who I can just ask, is like, does this look right? Can you give me the thumbs down, up or down on this one? Thumbs up? Awesome. Great. Good. Because if they give me the thumbs up, then I know I've got it. Then I know that it's very unlikely the game is going to come out and we're going to have just a whole bunch of forum threads popping out. It was like, can you see how bad and weird this animation is? Because for sure, that's where some bad horse animation comes from. It's from people being like, oh, like, I kind of have an idea of how... Some people may not even look up how a horse moves. They just may feel like, I know how a horse moves, and they'll kind of ballpark it based on their kind of internalized understanding and guessing, and that'll just be entirely off. Other people will actually, like, look at a whole bunch of reference trying to get it right and figure... and, like, kind of copy that and try to make it feel right as best they can. But there will be just the little details in there that you really only pick up from a lot of familiarity. Ooh, sorry, some people in chat are saying interesting things. Having subject matter experts on things typically will make things look more believable. Example, the classic Hollywood explosion super fireball with a cool person walking away with their coat blowing around is total BS. Like it's air-launched gas set on fire. Actual explosions are sharp bangs with a lot of dust and debris kicked up. That brings up another really good point, because yes, you're totally right. Like movie explosions are nothing like real explosions. But sometimes it is also important to know when, like, you're, like, who is your audience and what to them feels more right, or if not more right, more fun. Like more, what is going to make the experience feel more like cool and fun to them. Because sometimes you know that, like, okay, I know that real explosions don't look like this, but if I put a real explosion here in this, like in this game situation, it's not going to look as cool or feel as cool to most of my audience who does not really know the difference and is really used to watching lots of movies that with Hollywood explosions. Like Hollywood has trained us that, sorry, I'm talking a lot about, like, I'm talking a lot about firearm stuff, mostly because like, these are the examples I know a lot from working, animating stuff like this. Like, in movies, if you're in a shootout scene and you see a guy, like someone shot with a shotgun, they get kind of blown backwards, right? Because that conveys the power of the powerfulness of the shotgun, right? It's movie logic. Not at all realistic. That doesn't happen. But it's the sort of thing that like lots of people sort of almost expect, and it's a shorthand rule of cool, exactly, that is something that lots of people who aren't experts in the field all kind of believe and find enjoyable. And sometimes that's the choice to go with. The people who are the actual like gun nuts and enthusiasts and the experts may sort of grumble about it, and understandable. I've been in that position with other other things that are my interests, but in a lot of those times, sometimes it's just the right call. It's just like with driving, like with a driving, there are driving games that try to be simulations, as accurate a simulation of the real thing as they can. And there's an audience for that who is like, yes, I want this realistic looking thing. And then there's Mario Kart and people who like Mario Kart. They're both driving games with completely different audiences, and it's important to know which audience you're going for, because you need to make very, very, very different driving games depending on who you're trying to please. I love that they just straight up use the sort of like manipulator handle, like red, blue kind of symbols that we so frequently use in like 3D software in this. Can't believe how well this stuff works. Ooh, okay. Like 6 minutes ago, Baha Bali saying, I don't know if this is it, but this is what I pulled up when I looked up the horse animation blog thing. It's called The Mane Quest, and like Mane as in horse mane, M-A-N-E. Which, yes, Baha Bali is a very good name, and yes, I think that is exactly the blog I was thinking of. Highly recommend go look up The Mane Quest to read someone talking about the animation of horses in video games and what different games get right and different ones get wrong. Like, from a person with expertise in both fields of animation and horses. It's fascinating. I love it. So that's also part of the reason why, though it is a very fascinating topic, I'm probably not the right person to make the video about horse animation in various video games, because compared to that person, I am not qualified. Of course, they'd be naysaying, come now. The abilities in this game are so good. What other animation stuff in this should we look at? I probably won't go much more than like an hour more at tops. Because I actually need to like chill and rest some today. A little bit. I'm having fun though. Hey, hopefully this room is sounding way less echoey. We finally got some audio treatment, like panels and stuff set up. That's part of why I didn't stream last week. It took a while. But it is way less reverby in here now. It's not quite like voice recording booth treated, but it's getting there. Question is, if I'm going to turn off the stream and just go back to Tears of the Kingdom? Now, what I'll probably do is actually, if when I wrap up the stream, Carrie and I will watch the Final Fantasy XIV story mode episodes that I've recorded and edited that are supposed to go up next week, just to make sure that there's not any errors in them. And also just because, like, we've been enjoying watching them together, because Carrie hasn't seen anything from, like, Carrie didn't really start paying attention to the story in 14 as I was playing it until like late Shadowbringers, when things were getting real darn interesting. So she's seen everything from then onward and is way into it and loves like watching the story as I play it. And she's enjoyed like watching the Durman series because it's allowing her to which power did I just get? Right. Because it's allowing her to sort of like catch up on and see it. So this power rules. I have a sword. I need to break through this thing. I will fuse my sword with this boulder and have a rock stick. Incredible. It's so good. You can fuse. So this is the ability that I think, like, in my opinion, single-handedly like fixes the biggest problems that Breath of the Wild had with its inventory and with its durability system. In Breath of the Wild, there are a couple of kind of like small like issues or pain points that I still kind of had with the game, even though I still think it's brilliant and love it. There's a lot of items you get in the game that you don't have a whole lot of uses for, that frequently just kind of sit in your inventory and take up space. And like, yeah, they'll have some niche uses or a few good applications, but not tons of them, really. There's also a problem where like weapon durability was a thing that frustrated a lot of people in Breath of the Wild. But I love that Nintendo didn't take that feedback and to say, okay, we should make it that weapons don't break. They instead fixed like kind of a different aspect of the problem. One of the problems that I found with weapon durability, it's like I didn't have a problem with weapons breaking because you're finding weapons all the time. One of the things that I did have a problem with though is because you do have limited slots, and there were lots of weapons that you could pick up that it wasn't just that they were good, because you can find good weapons everywhere. It's that they had specific utility. This is a weapon that can set things on fire. This is a weapon that can freeze things or electrify things. And those have specific utility in certain situations that you really want to have handy when you need them. So I would often find that I'm needing to fill up so many slots in so many precious slots with weapons I'm barely using because they will break if I use them too often, but they have utility that may be really handy in those specific situations where I need them. So you would end up having this problem where it was just constantly like, okay, I filled up my whole inventory with this cool set things on fire and electrify things weapons, and I've only got 2 slots left for like actual things to use in fights. It's just sort of like a system that wasn't entirely there. It was like, having durability not be a thing would have created all kinds of other problems in the game, but it was a thing that wasn't entirely working, and that's why it was like causing a lot of folks a lot of frustration. This system makes it to where any weapon you pick up is like any sword like this that you pick up is on its own not super powerful. It's sort of like the skeleton of a weapon that you can then modify by fusing it with something in the world. Maybe it's just fusing it with like a monster tooth or something that dropped off a monster you beat, and then you fuse it onto that sword, and then it makes a sword that's much stronger and does some good damage for a little while. Or maybe, hey, I need to break through a wall, or I need to break a thing. Let me find a rock I can fuse this with and make more of a hammer. And you can also fuse it with stuff in your inventory and do cool things like this. So I'm going to take a whole bunch of these fire fruits here, which is great. In Breath of the Wild, you'd get these fire fruits and they would be good exclusively for cooking. Like you would cook stuff and a fire fruit would probably make it to where it was like, oh, I'm able to survive cold temperatures for longer. And that's nice. That's legitimately helpful. Here, though, you can attach materials to your arrows too. So now you don't have to carry around regular arrows and fire arrows and electric arrows and have like a set number of limited numbers of each one of those things. And if you run out of fire arrows, oh dang, I'm out of fire arrows. I gotta go find more fire arrows specifically. Now you just have arrows and you can fuse different things to your arrows to make them stronger or have specific cool functionality. In this case, fire. And you'd have, like, you can fuse anything you have in your inventory to these objects. So you don't have to carry around a whole bunch of fire arrows, nor do you have to carry around a bunch of, you don't have to keep a fire weapon cluttering up your inventory. Now, you just have items that can be fused with a weapon to become a fire weapon, and you can carry like 99 of those in your inventory. You can have those all the time. All I need to do is find just the skeleton of a weapon, basically. I need to find a rusty broadsword or some sort of thing, or a stick or whatever else, fuse it with a fire thing, boom, fire weapon. Got it. I didn't have to carry one around all the time. It's such an elegant solution to their inventory issues of the previous game that were only just really minor pain points, but could become frustrations the further you went. It's so smart. It's just such a clever design thing that they have just tuned so well. It allows for so much improvisation. It allows for the kind of improvisation that the weapon durability thing was meant to encourage but didn't quite get there because it just kind of had its problems. But now you can really like improvise like this, sort of like a, hey, I'm going to set a thing on fire so it takes a whole bunch of damage before it even gets to me, and I'm going to hit it on the head with my sword hammer. And then get, oh boy, almost very badly punished for it with their sword hammer, because they can also fuse things. It's so cool. This is the sort of thing, like, there's something that I've, like, every designer who I've ever, like, had these conversations with says something pretty similar. Like, when you get feedback on your game, lots of people, like, if they're having a frustration with some aspect of your game, they will often sort of talk about the thing that bothered them, and they will often also kind of communicate why they think it's bothering them, or what about it is bothering them, and maybe even propose what would make it better. And as a designer, usually they all tell me, like, listen to the feeling, ignore the, like, analysis and the explanation. Because, like, if Nintendo had just listened to the folks saying weapon durability is annoying, take out the weapon durability, that would not fix it would maybe fix the part of the problem that lots of folks were having, or the frustration folks were having, but it would introduce tons of new ones to the overall game flow and experience that is Breath of the Wild. It would create different problems. But the feeling folks were feeling, that frustration, that was real. They were, and it's true. Like, there was something about that experience, about durability, that was causing friction and frustration. So that's like an interesting thing that, like, designers have to sort of like figure out how to do, to sort of like listen to feedback and understand, like, hear the feeling that folks are getting from it, and then try to, like, don't just take the player at their word of why the thing was bothering them, but do listen to, like, okay, something about this is bothering them. And then you as a designer do what you've been trained to do and do what you've studied, and then try to figure out how can I solve this experience thing? Because maybe the player was right. Maybe their solution for the fix is correct, but it might not be. It might be that there's a much, much better way to solve that frustration they felt. And I don't say all this to suggest that Tears of the Kingdom is perfect and free of any kind of frustration points either. Lots of folks in chat are mentioning little aspects of the experience in Tears of the Kingdom that's also frustrating to them, even within this, I think, significantly improved system. Because, yeah, it's not perfect. I think that, like, one minor frustration I've found with it is just sort of a interface problem where, though I do love being able to combine an arrow with so many different things right here, even stupid things that won't really do a whole lot, this is already a lot of stuff to have to cycle through, and this is nothing compared to the number of items you're going to be collecting over the course of the game. So this is a lot of stuff to have to sift through. You can sort it in various ways that helps. Like, you can sort by type or by fuse attack power, which can be really helpful if you want to, like, make sure that you're shooting an arrow that has the most attack power possible, or fuse by most used, which is also a very helpful way to make sure that the stuff your favorites show up here, like, kind of at the front of the list more quickly. So that's nice. But it still is a little bit of a fiddly bit of interface. It's a smaller problem, I think, than the stuff that existed before, but there's still room for improvement. I feel like I agree that I feel like a favorites menu, being able to, like, tag certain items as favorite fuse combinations could be a fix for that, or at least on paper it feels like it would be. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is not the most elegant way to solve that specific problem. Maybe there's a better way to go about that. Heck, maybe they tried it. Because you are kind of right, like Evil Bacchus. After a couple of hours, that most used sorting really does cover it pretty well. And maybe they've ultimately found that that actually does kind of work more effectively. Like, it kind of gets you what you're wanting from a favorites menu for free without you having to go into a menu and fiddle around, like, selecting favorites, deselecting ones you don't want to be in the favorites menu anymore. Like, maybe they found that it just kind of elegantly saves you some menu time after a while. Or maybe they found there was another reason not to do the favorites thing, that, like, it kind of fixed that problem, but then kind of created some other bit of experience friction in a different, unexpected way. Who knows, man? Like, game design's complicated. I don't know why anyone gets into it. And games that are this good feel like, the more you work in games that come out this good feel like such an impossible miracle. I've been working in games 10 years, and I feel like I understand less than ever how a game this good can possibly happen. Sorry, I've been not paying enough attention to chat lately. I just wanted to say hi. I followed over from your YouTube channel. I've been really enjoying the Final Fantasy XIV story mode series. I'm a new player, and I find it a bit overwhelming at times, so I lose the main story because I'm just very easily distracted. Your story mode series has helped me to follow the story a bit better. Oh, I'm glad. I'm really happy. Like, that was not at all, like, a use case that I had in mind when I was coming up with the series idea, but that totally makes sense. And I'm glad it is providing that service. It's kind of provided it for me, too, just having a chance to kind of go back through the story and sort of see it again, having a bit more context for where the story goes. Like, there's definitely way more stuff I've noticed on a second run through that I didn't the first time. This is one of my favorite things in Tears of the Kingdom. Just caves that you can find that's a thing that I didn't realize was missing from Breath of the Wild. Like, I wouldn't have thought of it as a thing where it's like, oh, I really want there to be caves you can find where there's treasures in them and stuff like that. But like, now that these are here, going back to Breath of the Wild feels like, whoa, like that didn't feel like a thing that was missing, but now, man, what a cool addition. Because they're not things that show up on your map anywhere. They're like, well, now that I've discovered it, this cave will, the Pondside Cave, but when you're just wandering around, like, you're not going to see these caves on your map. You'll just be wandering and you'll see like, huh, wait, is that a cave? Hang on, that's a cave. I'm going to go in the cave. And caves always have so many little goodies in them and armor pieces and just like, they're always worth diving into. They're such a cool, fun reward discovery that is just right exactly in the wheelhouse of the experience of oh hey, these weird things. It's exactly the kind of experience that Breath of the Wild was so good at, but in a new way that Breath of the Wild didn't feature. It's such a cool addition that I love. Let's do some arrow fusion with, I don't know, this thing. Stronger arrow. Hey, hold still. Dagummit. My stronger arrow. There we go. Yes, I too appreciate the check marks they add to the caves on your map once you get kind of like the main objective thing inside them. Just so you can have that. Just so the game can remember for you. Like, yeah, you got everything you want out of here. You're good. I very much appreciate that as well. I also felt bad shooting my first little bubble frog thing the first time. Since you don't have a lot of context for it when you first see it, and it seems like this weird magical creature. And it's like, whoa, should I shoot this? I feel a little bad shooting this. It's only afterward that you kind of find that, oh, this is sort of like a weird illusion projection from the actual thing. The game makes you do the guilty feeling thing first, though. Let me find a rock to fuse this with. Ooh, what did I find? Yes. There's our boy. Finally found a shirt. Well, most of one. Is there a rock I can fuse? Yes, good. I will take stick. I will add rock, and with their powers combined, rock on a stick. Which is way better at breaking stuff like that. And this, I love, I don't have to carry a mining hammer around all the time like I did in Breath of the Wild, just in case I run into ore. I know you could use bombs too, but now you could just like see some ore or a rock wall or something you need to break and be like, all right, wait, is there a rock around that I can, here, let me put it on my stick. Boom, hammer, go. It's so smart. It makes me angry how smart it is. Well, yes, Raru, I am taking an extremely long time to get through this tutorial. Such is the wrong play. I've not even been wrong playing. I've just been rambling about how good the design is in this. Are there any other animation things we should look into? Do y'all think? While we're here. We can definitely do more Tears of the Kingdom later on just for funsies. Or for further analysis in the later stream. At some point. Why am I hitting this with my hammer? I should hit it with my axe. There we go. Did we do shivering? We could look for shivering. I guess I need to find some snow for that, but we're not too far, right? Let's do some combination. With these parts, I will construct my masterpiece. I have a pen, I have an apple. Ugh, apple pen. I have a pen, I have a pineapple. Ugh, pineapple pen. I have an apple pen, I have a pineapple pen. Ugh, pen, apple, pineapple pen. That reminds me of another thing that I quite like. Because I love that this game, the fusion power is great for just like actual play and strategy and improvising. I love that it also just allows for stupid. Like, hang on. Actually, drop it, Link. Drop the, hold, drop. Here's an apple. Here's a stick. With their powers combined, apple on a stick. It's not really better. There's an apple on it, though. A staple. Yep, there you go. Can you combine a stick with a long stick for a long stick? Darn right you can. Do I have a long stick on me? Hang on. I don't know if I have a... you can combine a stick with a stick. But if you could get a long stick, you could combine it with some other thing to get a very long stick. Applied fistics. Oh my goodness, that's some pretty good pun work. If that was just one word combo, portmanteau, that would be one thing, but you got two of them. That's legit impressive. Carrie would be delighted if she'd heard that. Anyway, my masterpiece, right. I keep on pressing up on the D-pad for powers because I've been playing Breath of the Wild. Let's see. There we go. Now, let's take this vessel on our maiden voyage. Perfection. Woo! It's a little unbalanced. That's all right. That'll happen. Don't know why it's unbalanced. Is it something with like precise orientation of the fans, or is it like the angle, the rotation of the fans or something? I wonder. Maybe it was where I was standing. Oh, it was my weight on it? That would make some sense. Do you think we'll get to one more shrine to get the ascend? Yeah, let's see if we can get the other powers real fast. I'll stop screwing around and we'll actually like move and get some of the other powers to look at what they do. Got my apple stick going on an adventure. I know there's some sort of item there, but I'd have to fight like 6 things. I don't know if I want to fight 6 things right now. I do want none of this right now. Nope, we're just gonna go. We're gonna go, we're gonna hit the right button. We're gonna build the perfect minecart. Step 1. Place minecart incorrectly. Step 2. Correct your mistake. Step 3. Add propulsion source. Step 4. Hit propulsion force with an apple, which you have attached to your stick. Step 5. Enjoy. Ooh. I love these. Bright bloom seeds are great because not only can you throw them, where is one? In dark places, which rules. You can also find another dark place, which is, I think, for, yeah. Well, they're about to teach me. You can attach these seeds to your arrows and shoot them farther. And it rules. Bright bloom seed. Fire! It's so darn cool. It's not okay how good this game is. Woo! You can fuse a minecart to the shield? Wait. Well, now we have to. This rusty shield is missing something, and that something is a minecart. Yes, you can absolutely just throw the light mushrooms as well, or the light things as well, to get a similar effect. They won't go as far, obviously, but you usually don't need them to. You know, why not? This is already right here. Let's, oh, it's attached to something I should probably detach first, right? That would make sense. I could also attach a fan to the shield so that when I hold the shield out, it'll, like, blow things away. One of my favorites continues to be having a flamethrower spout thing attached to a shield. That's just fun. But this, let's see. Is that really gonna work? You're kidding me. Bonkers. This game's great. Ah, Carrie's in chat. Now shield surf, hold on. What? Hold on. Oh my god, are you kidding me? I can't believe this game. And it will auto snap to rails. This game's amazing. Do an ollie. I hope, like, I pray you're joking. Because at this point, I'll believe you. Websites have let you add to cart for decades. Fair point. This game's ridiculous. All right, well, we got a rail up here. We could try riding it. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Let me line up. It's hard to do it uphill, though. That's the one problem. Worth it. You can do a spin, even. Attack while grinding. Oh, cool. Okay. We're fine. It's not a lot of space to attempt it, but let's... Yep, you can do stunts. Game of the decade. No, 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 no. Okay, I should get like an actual minecart Hang on. Some light, please. Thank you. Ooh, well, perfect. Do I still have a fan here? Yes. These. Good. I'm taking these. Oh. May I please have them? Don't worry, a real travesty. We're not doing a full playthrough here on stream. We're wrong playing right now. We're just looking for we're playing the game weird just to kind of understand its animation systems. It's taken me 9 months to get halfway through Final Fantasy V. There's no way we're actually doing a full run through Tears of the Kingdom on stream. There we go. We've even got ourselves a light attached. That's probably going to do some funny things as we start actually rolling, but let's see. Take out device. Thank you. And let's go for a ride. Maybe with this stick. There we go. We go! I was kind of hoping that the light flower would spin around like wild. This is good too, though. Just incredible. Skateboards! Just amazing. Ooh, we can ride that rail. This Korok will be stuck here, but that's fine. Woo! Stunts. Uh-oh. Slightly uphill, I suppose. Yeah! Just amazing. All right, let's see our little fellow get cold. I'm guessing those animations are the same. I don't see any reason why they would get rid of the cute being cold animations, especially given those were one of the few animations that Link had that had a lot of like expressive personality to it in the first game. Yeah. Still does it in menus too. Yep. Poor freezing boy. See, in these little moments when he is expressive, it's so great. It's so good. I wish there were more of this from him. Let's go make some spicy food. I do feel like if I could think of enough examples, you could do a pretty fun mini New Frame Plus episode of how various games, characters open chests in games. Because I know I've talked about that before. Like how Kratos and Sora are like two really good examples of just how different a simple animation acted like chest opening can be. And even the Zeldas have a few different kind of variants of it. Even in this game alone, this Link has several different variants of it depending on the state of the chest and whether he's like got shoes on and other stuff like that. Now, Thream, I would actually disagree with this. Sorry, there's a discussion happening in chat that I am just not providing anyone listening any context for whatsoever. Folks were asking why there weren't adding like idle fidget animations, and Thream was saying the same reason as before. They don't want to distract the player when they're looking around. Idle animations are mostly there to remind the player to keep going. I don't think that's why idle animations are there at all. I think idle animations are there because they give it's a brief moment where the character can express themselves and be like act like a human independently of player input. Like sometimes like that can be an opportunity where the character can do an idle animation that tells the player to keep going. Like for Sonic, that's exactly what it is. Because that's also a bit of characterizing detail for Sonic. He wants to go fast. He's impatient. He's got attitude. So him kind of breaking the fourth wall and being like, hey, let's go. Come on. Like that's extremely in character for Sonic, which that's like lots of other characters would not be that way. Like Link here doesn't have a lot of like explicit personality. He's not nearly as personality-full as Sonic, but Link would not be that way about it. But Link would, like, he has idle fidget animations. They just don't happen for a minute and like 10 seconds or something, which is way, way, way too long. Because if his animations, even the idle fidgets they give him, if they are meant to like remind you to like, hey, you're not doing something, hurry and move, they're not good at that. They're like, they're subtle little things like him looking at his arm or just sort of stretching a little bit, like characters rolling their shoulders and things like that. Like the idle fidgets like that are such a perfect opportunity both for characterization and contextual awareness. You can have the characters look around themselves. You can have their fidgets be driven by their immediate circumstances, or maybe like you can have their fidgets change over time as the game progresses to show change in the character, right? Like I think we're going to see probably the same fidget in a minute here of him looking at his arm as we saw at the very start of the game. But I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know for sure because I've not played far enough, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a fidget that he doesn't do for the whole game, because eventually he's going to kind of start getting more used to this arm. So it would be a very great characterizing detail for him to see there. He just sort of like shook the hand a little bit, and that was very subtle. That's not grabbing your attention and trying to tell you, hey, move. It's very much just sort of like him showing a little bit of a sign of life and having a thought of his own, as opposed to just sort of standing here like a sort of weird mannequin. No thoughts. But yeah, like him falling asleep. If you leave him out at night, him kind of dozing off, like that's a cute little detail. Yeah, Aloy does hold out her hands when it starts to snow, which is also like a great little environmental, like kind of awareness sort of thing. It's the character recognizing something happening in the world on their own without any input or command from you. And it makes not only the character, but even the world feel more like kind of alive and real and right and coherent. Because the character is recognizing a change in the environment around them or like showing that sort of recognition. And it's entirely a crafted moment of animators creating that animation and sort of like the programmers hooking it up to where when the character enters, when this state of the world changes, the character shows it. It shows recognition of it and stuff like that. Like it's idle fidgets like these are such a great opportunity for so many different things that it does surprise me they don't take more advantage of it here. Because they've done that in previous Zelda games too. No other Zelda game that I've played has made Link take this long to do an idle fidget. And it's not like the fidgets he's been doing are even big ones that would draw a lot, that would be distracting or even draw attention away from the environment or any other thing if you were looking at it. If he just sort of like shook his hand a little or kind of looked at his hand a bit or just looked around, rolled his shoulders, tapped his feet on the ground, tapped his boots on the ground the way he does in Ocarina or Wind Waker. I've rambled about this stuff so many times, I'll stop, but it's now that we have a sequel where he still takes just as long to do these fidgets, it's clearly an intentional choice and not just a mistake or a bug or anything. So now I'm just left not understanding. I cannot think. I've spent entirely too much time thinking about this. And I cannot think of a reason that makes any sense, like of any kind of realistic reason for him to take that long to do it. It just seems You know, it baffles me. Cooking. Oh, yeah. We could do cooking. I should also cook something warm so I don't die in the cold. I love this silly shield I have. Let's make spicy mushroom. Same animations as before, yeah? Yes. Slightly different face, I think. I can't remember if he like closed his eyes with the sort of like, yeah, like happy joy when he did the fist pump sort of thing, which I like. That's a little bit more change in the face, and it's good. So they have added a little more animate like face expressiveness to him here, like a little bit. I'd love to see more, but they have added some, and I am happy for that. Oh, does he now hum during cooking? That's great. He hums classic Zelda songs. That's a real Nintendo touch. I love it. They're so good at coming up with and executing on the little touches like that. That make games like these feel all magical. All right. We got 3 minutes. Let's go. All right, Raru, talk fast. Don't worry, I'm going to avoid as many of these constructs as I can. Even though I could, if I'm remembering right, steal a flamethrower from one kind of near here. Yeah, right down there. That's fine. I'll avoid them this time, but I could. 5 peppers all cooked up gives 12 minutes of cold resist. Ooh, that's good to know. For the future. Ah, many bats. Here, you two fight amongst yourselves. I've found a cave. Dan, have you hydrated? I haven't. I should. Good idea. Also, let me get hit with bubbles. I love how many more, like, old classic Zelda items and things are back in now. Bomb flowers are back. It's great. There you are. Sure. There we go. Are you down? I'll hit you with apple stick. You are down. Okay. And there they go. Make bomb stick. Ooh, that sounds dangerous. I will absolutely... Let me find another bomb flower, and I will absolutely make and use and regret using bomb stick. Do they only have 1 HP? I feel like I've had to hit them a fair number of times with weaker weapons. It is time for bomb stick, though. All right. Bomb stick. Then you can throw it. What if you don't throw it, though? What if you just swing it at something? Bomb fused to shield gives you a great jump. What? That's cool. All right, well, now we gotta... Oh, hey, likes are back also. This is a good idea. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Ha! And now I hit you with bomb stick! No regrets. Good video game. Worth it. I should probably call it a night. I've been streaming for a while now, and I still need to chill, and Carrie and I need to watch some we need to preview some tournaments, make sure those renders came out okay. But we may stream more Tears of the Kingdom in the future just to look at more animation stuff. I've got some ideas for some potential mini videos we could potentially do now. Yeah, let's try the shield one real fast, actually. Hang on. Yeah, let's do a fusion with the shield. Because I'm curious about that jump thing y'all said was a thing. And then, whoop. Okay. So, like, if I do this. Whoa! This game's so cool. Amazing. I love it. Yeah, I'm almost surprised that the flame didn't catch fire or I didn't explode as well. Pleasantly surprised, but surprised all the same. But here, we'll wind down. I should start calling it a night. Thank you all very much for joining me and for like coming up with good coming up with like good questions and stuff like that. Like I've got some video ideas we can get out of this. Where's our music? Let's get the music back. There it is. This has been very fun. Yeah, I am thinking in the future, if this sort of like New Frame Plus Minis thing works out, and I'm not going to start on these right away. I've got a Sonic Frontiers video that's so near to done. I'm going to try to focus fire that down first, just because it's been too long since we had a New Frame Plus video. Because international moving will do that. But then, even though I do have some bigger videos afterward that I'll be launching into, I want to try making some of these small ones first. Just to test it out. And if the sort of like mini New Frame Plus stuff is received well and it like gets a good reception and it does prove to be as quick to make as I want them to be, then I'm thinking my idea will be to do wrong play type streams like this on Wednesday nights to get fodder for like ideas for videos like that. And then maybe on Sundays whenever those streams are able to happen, those will be for kind of like the longer get Final Fantasy V footage and stuff like that. It's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see. It will be nice being like making smaller videos now and then. So I'm hoping that this works out. I love these big videos, but darn, they take a long time to make. Could be refreshing having some smaller ones now and then. Now, normally deciding who to raid is a bit of a challenge, or at least when there's more than one person on. But right now, it's a very easy decision. Summer Games Done Quick is going on, and Summer Games Done Quick is great. We should all be watching Summer Games Done Quick right now. So as soon as these lovely credits finish rolling, then we will go watch some speedruns. Games Done Quick is just... Man, like, even though I often don't have a lot of time to watch them live when they're happening, they are some of my favoriteest just events of the year. Just so positive and entertaining and wholesome and lovely. So let's go watch some speedruns. I have no idea what they're running right now. But we're all going to find out together. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Thank you again for joining me. And for all of the, and for subscribing and resubscribing and gift subs, all that. Y'all are all very kind. And I'll see you all again soon. Good night.